Hey everyone, happy Friday the 13th. It's actually getting one in September this year and another one in December, if I remember correctly. And it was funny, I was actually going to do just a very quick kind of happy Friday 13th video, like I think I usually do anyway, to try and do every time we do get a Friday 13th. But I wanted to do something a little more fun today, so I put together a couple kind of interesting questions that obviously I'll answer, and then I encourage you guys to answer them as well if you want to. And in case you're wondering real quick, I do have this little nick on my forehead because I actually did get attacked by Jason, and he took a swing at me. He did cut me, but I did get away. Or I hit my head on the trunk of my car. I'll let you decide which one of those actually happened. Okay, so now let's just get to the questions. So I tried to pick out a couple of sort of fun ones for this. So let's see. So first up, what was your first Friday the 13th film that you saw? Now for me, it was actually, if I remember correctly, it was very, very young. It was actually part 3. The interesting thing is I saw them a little bit out of order, but not too bad. I saw part 3 first, and then I saw 1 and 2. And then I was all in order. Final chapter onward, they were all in order. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think Halloween is the one that I like way like kind of way out of order. I think that was the one where I saw like 2 and then 3 and then 1 and I don't know. Not that that matters, that's a whole other video. I'll get to Halloween movies at another time. As far as Friday 13th goes, for me, it was in fact part 3, which is why part 3 has always had such a special kind of meaning for me. And obviously the great thing about part 3 is, of course, it is the first time Jason put on the hockey mask. The now iconic hockey mask. Next question is, what is your favorite Jason kill? So, actually, I was trying to think, there's a couple of good ones to choose from. I did kind of go with 2 ones that I think kind of really stood out for me. One of them is from the final chapter. It's when Rob gets killed in the basement. There will be spoilers in this video, by the way, and the off chance there's 1 or 2 of you who haven't seen a couple of these. But yeah, so when Rob gets killed in the basement in the final chapter, just even though you don't really see anything, but it's when he's kind of getting when Jason's kind of coming down with him with that garden hook thing. And he's sort of screaming like, oh, he's killing me, he's killing me. I don't know, for some reason there's something very chilling about that has always stuck with me. And then the other one, which is a little bit more graphic, is actually in Jason Goes to Hell, when the girl in the tent, who's on top of the guy, gets split in half. Obviously you have to see it in the unrated cut. But yeah, that's like, wow, that really kind of goes for broke as far as that goes. So yeah, so those are definitely my 2 picks. Next question is, what is your favorite way that Jason actually gets killed? So we've had a couple actually cool ones, but my favorite, which probably will be the maybe the most obvious, I think if you mentioned this before, is in the final chapter. The way he gets done in the final chapter with the machete to the head and then just sliding down the blade. And all that. That's in and of itself, that is amazing. And like I had to choose that one. There are other ones that are definitely good. But it's one of those things where it's like, I've never seen anything like that before. So that's, yeah, that would definitely be my favorite one. Next question is, who is your favorite victim? Like, not the way they were done off with, but just as characters, sort of the supporting characters that eventually sort of led to their demise. And I have to say, actually, Jimmy and Ted from Final Chapter, so Crispin Glover's character and Lawrence Monison's character, just they're sort of very awkward, kind of back and forth, kind of throughout the film. Obviously, basically just talking about trying to get laid. For some reason, I've always thought it was very funny and entertaining, and in a weird way, very endearing. Because especially for a guy when you're younger, that's definitely like kind of almost the only thing on your mind a lot of the time. So yeah, I've always gotten such a kick out of those 2 characters, and then obviously even adding to the mix, obviously Crispin Glover's infamous dance, in that film. Can't forget that. Next up, who is your favorite final girl in a Friday the 13th film? And I honestly have to go with Alice. Adrian King from the first film, just because she really kind of set the stage in so many ways, but also I think because her character in some ways was almost like the reluctant hero. It's not like she sort of evolves that during the third act. It's the kind of thing where it's not like she kind of was that all along. She easily could have been one of the victims, but yeah. So there's always something that's always kind of stuck out to me with her. So I'm going to go with her, but I actually do want to make a special mention. Technically not a final girl. I guess in this case it would be a final guy, and that is definitely Tommy Jarvis. Not just Corey Feldman's version in part 4, or even his version in part 5, specifically in part 6, the Tom Matthews sort of version of Tommy Jarvis is definitely, I think that specifically has always been also my other favorite. So definitely want to give a very special mention to that, or to him rather. Next up is, which Friday the 13th film do you think is the most underrated? And for me, it definitely has to be part 5, Friday the 13th, part 5, A New Beginning. I've always kind of felt that, which I understood, it's not the same thing. I don't want to kind of say exactly, but it kind of falls into the sort of like Halloween 3 type of thing, where even though there is much more connection with Friday the 13th in part 5 than obviously in the sake of Halloween 3 and the rest of the Halloween franchise. But, it's the fact that part 5 is in and of itself kind of like its own film, even though obviously it uses the Tommy Jarvis character. It just, I kind of like the fact that they tried to do something a little different, and it's the one that also has the most, I don't say grindhouse feel to it, but drive-in feel. It's got a little bit more of a slight scuzzy feel to it, and stuff, but and I don't mean that in a bad way, obviously. I'm assuming if you watch this channel, then I don't mean that in a bad way, but yeah, I've always enjoyed part 5, and I think even more recently, I think it's a lot more love of part 5 has definitely come out. So yeah, definitely my pick for the most underrated one. Next up is, what is your favorite Friday the 13th music score? Obviously most of them were done by Harry Manfredini, but not all of them. But yeah, definitely my picks, or my pick, well, maybe my picks. I keep going back and forth. All right, I'm going to cheat. I'm actually going to pick 2. It's my video. I can do what I want, right? So I'm going to go with part 1 and the final chapter. I mean, technically part 1, obviously, because it literally sets the stage. It introduces a lot of the main themes, obviously the theme especially. But the thing I also love about the final chapter is that even though I know it reused parts of music from 1, 2, and 3, but that's the thing. It does use all kinds of music. It has new music, and it sort of reuses the themes that we kind of have known, throughout at least the first 3 films. And yeah, actually, because I have, I think all of the soundtracks, and those 2 definitely get the most play for me. So I'm definitely going to go with those 2. But because I do love part 3 so much, I do want to give a special mention to the part 3 disco version of the theme, which, yes, super cheesy, but holy cow, do I love that just disco theme version. I mean, oh yeah, that probably gets more play than I should be willing to admit, but it does. It does. And also another special mention, even though it's not part of the score, but definitely the He's Back song by Alice Cooper for part 6. I mean, what can you say? Fantastic song. Absolutely love it. It's easily probably the one Alice Cooper song I've listened to the most in my life. And honestly, I can't even imagine a Friday the 13th without even hearing it at least once. So special mention on that one. Next question is, which Friday the 13th film have you watched the most? Honestly, I don't know. I want to say it's probably, I think it's a tie between the final chapter and part 6. I want to say maybe the final chapter probably kind of has gotten the most views for me, especially when I was younger, maybe not just for a couple obvious scenes in the film, but specifically because, especially when I really found out about Tom Savini and things like that, I was fascinated by his special effects and everything. So obviously, you know, from all the George Romero films, but also even other films like The Final Chapter. So probably The Final Chapter. I'm going to guess The Final Chapter. Almost done here. So the next question is, what is your favorite Friday the 13th collectible? Now, I have to admit, I actually do have quite a lot of Friday the 13th stuff, as I'm sure a lot of us do. And I was kind of thinking about this. I was like, oh, what could I actually go with? But I'm probably going to go with something that I did. Well, it took several years. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's the kind of thing where I think I accomplished it just a few years ago, and that is I actually do have a poster from each of the Friday the 13th films. Now, I don't have all of the posters. I think I'm missing maybe one or two teaser posters or something. I can't remember, but I definitely at least have a poster from each film. And that was definitely one of those that was just a happy accident. I've just been collecting the Friday the 13th posters over many, many years. And then for some reason, I remember one day it just kind of hit me like, I almost have all of them. Geez, I should probably, kind of get, I think at the time, maybe I was missing 3 or something, like 3. I don't mean number 3, part 3. I mean, like, I think there were 3 posters left for me to get. So yeah, in a way, that's probably my favorite, to know that I actually have a poster from each of the films. And then finally, the last question, which is the most obvious, is what is your favorite Friday the 13th film? Now, we all have ones that we probably, these are, I'm talking personal favorite, and it could be the one you saw first. It could be one that just kind of stuck with you, or you just have a special memory of, or whatever the case is. For me, I have to probably go with the one I always will lean towards the most. I do want to say I love all of them. I know, I'm not gonna do a list of, my favorite to least favorite and stuff, because honestly, even my least favorite, technically, I love all the Friday the 13th films. I have a special place in my heart for all of them. If there is one that I do tend to lean towards to watch the most, it is going to be The Final Chapter. That is it my favorite one, or I don't know. I don't know if I would say, is it my favorite one, or is it just the one I watched? Nah, actually, you know what? Yeah, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say The Final Chapter is my favorite. So that's it for this Friday the 13th video. I want to do something a little bit different today. So yeah, if you want to answer these questions, please do. I would love to know what your answers are. And of course, any chance we can get to celebrate Friday the 13th. I kind of love that, among us horror film fans, that Friday the 13th is a good day and one that we love to celebrate any chance we get one. And also the fact that we do have another one coming up in just a couple months is also pretty cool. So again, happy Friday the 13th, and as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.
Oh, some damn enchiladas!